Hi guys, welcome to another bowling video. And today we're going to do a review of a two-handed female bowler, a young two-handed female bowler, Bella Love Castillo from the United States. So I've only just recently discovered her channel, and actually, I mean, if you have seen any of her videos as well, maybe I can just like play a quick one, right? This is from one of her vlogs. So just mute the video. All right. So you can see just from that one shot, I'm gonna play this shot again. Right, just from that one highlight shot. You don't need to be a coach to know that she's quite a good bowler, right? Uh, Good ball speed, quick execution, able to strike, and has tons of ref rate, right, as a two-hander. And as a female bowler, that is actually quite rare, actually, because I have actually seen a lot of female two-handed bowlers in Singapore alone. Overseas, not personally. I've seen them on videos, but personally, in my experience, like when working with bowling science or just looking at their female two-handed bowling students, my general view is that a lot of these female students, female two-handers, they actually struggle from a lack of ball speed or a lack of like explosive power. So, but mostly is the problem with most of them is ball speed. Like they can get the ref rate, they can get their ball down, they can hit the pocket, but the lack of ball speed just hampers them from like achieving their full potential as a two-hander. They don't get as much strikes and they don't score as high as their male counterparts. So actually, and the interesting thing is that Bella Love Castillo here actually overcomes it by having a really good ball speed even as a female bowler. So maybe a little bit background. So I've spent some time looking through her channel, her YouTube channel, and obviously she has an Instagram channel as well. So guys, please make sure to give her a sub. Bella Love Castillo, just B Castillo in YouTube, and Instagram. I think you can actually search for it in one of the linked videos here. Huh. So yeah, so basically you can follow her on Instagram as well, and she mostly does shorts. Her YouTube channel mostly uploads shorts where she uploads to, I assume, both Instagram as well as YouTube, because in Instagram when you upload it's mostly shorts, and shorts are really flexible as well. You can upload them to TikTok as well. So with shorts you can upload them to both YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, which is like three channels at the same time, right? Three social media channels. And we can actually see like she actually made her channel, or the parents, she has really supportive parents who bowl as well, and that's really important for a young developing teenage bowler. You can see that she started her channel as many as 6 years ago. So given that now is like 2020, right? So that is probably like 2016, I guess. So even back then she was like no bowling, wearing like Spider-Man suits. So this is her when 6 years back, when she was really young, just bowling one-handed casually, and she quickly actually like sort of like learned the two-handed game, right? So let's take a look at a little bit more, and you can see that even here, like 3 years back, so that is like probably in 2019, still still just a little tight, right? Just a little tight little kid, and she's already bowling two-handed. Right? Her mom, that's her mom in the background saying that looks good, which I agree, it looks good. So even back then, right, Bella Love Castillo actually already has decent ball speed. Like even as a youth bowler, very young, it seems a little bit slower, but this is actually pretty decent ball speed for somebody her size, right? Like she's really young and really small at that age. Then if we look at even later, right, just slightly later from then, her ball goes faster. Like her ball speed here is actually much improved from the earlier one. It's still a little bit slow, but for a kid, it's actually pretty fast, because if you look at this, so I'm gonna play this. This looks a little bit slower, right? Just the front part as compared to this. Like the speed at which the ball travels down the front part, it looks faster. And fast forward to today, like she's doing vlogs, right? So it seems like She's changing her content to mostly be around vlogs, and you can see her release here. So the parents took a side view, which is really good for coaches to do analysis. So I'm gonna just mute it, and you can see her bowling in tournaments. Today in 2020, I assume she's like a teenager, probably like 14 or 15 years old. I mean, I'm not too sure of her age, but you can see she's doing blogs, she's doing like training videos, bowling for dad for league and so on. So probably let's take a look at maybe another video that is more recent. These are all, yeah. And here she's actually bowling for like a high game. I'm gonna mute the video here. So you can see that she's bowling in a tournament, a youth tournament, bowling for high game. I'm just gonna forward a little bit. And you can look at the ball speed, like pretty quick ball speed. Like her ball speed is on par with most two-handed guys, right? Two-handed males, two-handed professional bowlers even. And look at how clean that strike is. The ref rate as well looks pretty decent. So all in all, she's developed into a very pretty good, pretty decent two-handed bowler. So I'm gonna talk about like her interesting form. Let me see. So let me see if I can actually have a full side view. So there's this recent video that she uploaded just today, right? June 13. She's going for SYC, which is I think the short form for Storm Youth Championships. So she's gonna bowl competitively. And we can see her side view. So she's already in the midst of her second step. Is that a third step? Yeah, it's really in the midst of a third step. So if we were to, so I'm gonna close up the ones when she was younger. Okay, probably here. So we can probably see her form here. Her dad is, I think, is that a dad? No. Okay, let's look at the last shot of a high game here. Okay, maybe fast forward a little bit. Okay, she loses a little bit of balance there, but she gets a strike. So going back to her stance, so let's access her stance. So generally really good, right? Really good because she has bowling shoulder lower than the non-bowling shoulder. Her upper body is tilted slightly to the right, which is fine as long as it's not too much. But generally her spine is straight. Then the legs are straight as well. So this is a very good, well-balanced starting position. So her stance is really good. The way she holds her ball, you can't see it, but from the way her elbows is peeking out, she's holding a ball pretty close to her body, which is good. It's more comfortable and also easier to balance that ball in that position. So that is good as well. Okay, so let's look at her first few steps. So what's interesting is that you look at where Bella is standing, right? She's standing at the extreme edge of the approach. So here, draw a line here. This is the end of the approach. So we can't really see here. I think there are like dots. There's one line of the first line of dots should be here. I think second line. Okay, I'm not too sure. These lanes, are these ITRC? I'm not sure whether these are Brunswick or AMF lanes, but oh, these are Brunswick lanes from the machine here. Right, you can see it from the machine. But I can't see where the second row of dots is. I assume it's here. Can't really see it. But typically, I mean, in the bowling center, you have two rows of dots, and then you have the end of the approach. So, but she's actually standing at the extreme end of approach. She's maximizing the approach lane, which is very unusual for someone with her height because she's not. I mean, she's still quite young, right? She still has room to grow. But she's not a very tall bowler. I assume she's around probably 1.6 to 1.7 meters in height, but she's standing at the extreme end of the approach, which is something like those tall guys, like maybe the 1.9, those kind of guys would do. So it's interesting that she stands so far back. That's mainly because her first two steps are rather large. So if you look at her first two steps, right, pretty big first two steps. she actually almost starts running with her first two steps. She rushes forward with the first two steps and has really big first two steps. She takes like a big chunk, like a big step with her first two steps, which is quite unusual because usually in bowling, if you can see other youth bowlers or even other pro bowlers, like the first two steps are typically rather small. The reason being, I'll explain the reason, the pros and cons of having small two steps later and having a shorter approach later. So she takes really big first two steps and she actually doesn't have a high backswing. So you can see that this is the height of her backswing. So the height of her backswing is about same, I mean slightly lower than her head. So which is not really high. But one good thing is that actually her backswing is quite close to being extended. A little bit of a bent elbow, but you can see on her downswing, she actually extends her elbow fully. Let's go in. Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit because I want to capture the moment of a downswing. Yep. So you can see here, this is the moment of a downswing. Elbows almost fully extended, almost fully straight, which is something which I advocate. So I advocate for two-handed bowlers to straighten their elbows on the downswing. If you've seen one of my recent videos, I talk all about the ideal two-handed downswing, which is really important to straighten the elbow. So she does most of that here. I think when she goes into the downswing, she almost fully straightens it, which is good. So she maximizes her sort of like the leg of her arm swing. So the longer your arm swing, the higher the ball speed you can generate. And her tempo is really fast too. Then she releases a little bit off balance, but you can see. So let's just take a look at her finishing position is not ideal. So in this, she falls off. Okay, we can take a look at finishing position here. So finishing position is that knee bend, not ideal in this one, right? Usually we'll advocate more knee bend, but the trailing leg position is actually not bad. A little bit too extended for my personal liking. Usually I would advocate to have the trailing leg a little bit more relaxed, and two-handers usually will kick up their trailing leg a little bit in order to balance the amount of stuff they're doing on the right side of their body. Balance arm, I mean, her balance arm not fully up yet. She seems to actually hold on with her left arm on the bowling ball for a little bit longer than normal. So that might be something that she can improve on. So because she holds it later longer than normal with her left arm, she seems to have a little bit she seems to raise her balance arm a little bit late. And follow through is really good though. She follow throughs above her head. So her hand, her bowling wrist actually goes above her head during the follow through, which is good, strong follow through. Spine tilt forward is pretty good, pretty decent. Not too much. I mean, it's far enough forward. Usually two-handers, the problem with two-handers is sometimes their spine tilt gets too far forward, right? They tilt way, way forward, like something like this, like almost falling into the lane. So which is something that we want to avoid. So she has pretty good about 45 degrees spine tilt forward. Then basically, yeah. So the only flaw in her finishing position will probably be the balance arm as well as the lack of bend here on this last shot. Obviously, there are other shots where maybe she has a slightly better finishing position, but we want to look at the tempo. Her tempo is really fast. So you can see that in the live view, so I'm going to play again. In the live view, right? So you can generally notice that her tempo is really fast. Like you can't even see her backswing normally. Like her backswing is rather low. It looks as if her backswing is rather low compared to other two-handed bowlers and so on. So a low backswing, but high fast tempo. High tempo, fast swing, then results in high ball speed and lots of strikes. So she obviously strikes pretty often in many of her shots. If you look at her YouTube channel, many of the shots showing strikes, like pocket shots and so on. Really powerful shot. So how she gets that ball speed, actually the first two steps actually helps her with getting that ball speed. So I can see early on in the video, there are some early on in the YouTube videos, there are some videos of gymnastics. So I can probably imagine that she has some gymnastics background. And if she is no trained in gymnastics like vault and so on, it's common sense, right? That you have to do a running start in order to get up to the vault, because you need some amount of distance to run, and you need to run really quickly to get enough speed so to catapult yourself, to get the momentum of the body moving forward, so that you can catapult yourself over when you're doing the vault. So this habit of taking large steps, right, probably comes from her gymnastics background, and this habit of maximizing the lane is like probably her gymnastics training as well, because you can see, like, even from young, when back 3 years back, when she was learning to handle bowler, she was already like using the maximum distance that the approach can allow her. Like from here, she's already stepping close to the foul line, starting as close to the foul line. This isn't the foul line actually, as close to the end of the approach as possible. So she's really maximizing the distance even from a young age, because she was taught, like in gymnastics, you have to you need a running start, and she's doing a running start in order to get that ball speed. So pretty interesting style all in all. So she does a running start, and she takes big steps, especially the first 2 steps, in order to help to generate the body momentum to get the additional ball speed, which a lot of like female two-handed bowlers actually struggle with. So other than that, we also have a side view here. So running start, we'll do a comparison, like why a running start is. So the running start is obviously good because it gives more ball speed, but I will compare like why we don't really teach it in modern day bowling. So we have a side view here, which we can, let me take a look. So this is in the middle of a third step. So bowling arm swing is bent, which is fine. And let's look for the top of a backswing, right? So this is the top of a backswing, not really high. Like a top of backswing is actually pretty low. Bowling elbow is still bent, but as she goes down, oh, she actually doesn't fully extend it. Not in this particular video. Let me check again. Right. So she actually doesn't fully extend it. Like her bowling elbow is bent even on the downswing, but yet she still gets a pretty decent ball speed. So something that she can probably improve on is like straightening, like relaxing the elbow, bowling elbow, and straightening the elbow earlier in the downswing. Because if you like watch my video where I compare like Belmo, Simonson, as well as Carl Troop, as well as Jasper Swenson, in this part of the downswing, when their ball is going into the downswing, their bowling arm and bowling elbow is actually already fully straightened out, to maximize the length of their arm swing and to maximize the power and the ball speed that they can generate. So this is she has a bit room for improvement here, but obviously she's still young. Like the knee bend is actually really good going into this part of the finishing position. And then if you look at her finishing position here, yep. So in this part, her finishing position actually is pretty decent, right? Excellent knee bend here as she releases. Then follow through goes above her head, really good. The body lean forward isn't too excessive. The trailing leg extension is maybe a little bit too much, a little bit too stiff, too straight. And the balance arm actually goes behind her back, which is not ideal. Like, not really necessary to really stretch it that far. Ideally, the balance arm should be somewhere around here, right? But pretty good finishing position as well. So, right, so overall, pretty good bowler, right? I haven't seen a lot of her shots, but her release is really interesting. So I don't know whether I can get a shot where we can see her release. Maybe in this particular video. Let me try and find one where she releases a shot. Okay, this is block going through. Let's see her actual bowling shot. That's a dad. Okay, so she actually bowls here. Okay, so we can look at her shot here. Okay. Let's look at top backswing. So at the top of the backswing, her hand actually isn't cupping the bottom of the ball, right? Her hand is like usually right behind the ball, but it is actually okay as she goes into the release point, because if you see here at the point of release, her fingers are already at the bottom of the ball. So even though during the top of a backswing, her fingers really isn't under the ball, which I usually will like advise for two-handed bowlers to get their hands as underneath the ball as possible. During release position, she is actually in a very strong position during release because her fingers are at the bottom of the ball to generate maximum ball speed. To generate maximum amount of revolutions, not ball speed. So yeah, let me correct myself there. So to get your fingers as underneath the ball as possible so that you can maximize the amount of rotation you can create on the ball, maximize your ref rate. So let me correct myself. And looks good, right? Looks fantastic. Excellent. So let's look at the ball reaction here. So high ball speed, excellent ref rate, and look at the pin reaction, right? The pin one just flies all the way past pin 7. It like just knocks out pin 7 with like a knockout punch. So really, really powerful bowler here. Okay, so now let's compare the benefits and like this advantages and disadvantages of having like a really like having a running start, so to say. So let's pause the video as she starts here. Okay, so I'm going to use this shot as to illustrate. So the advantages, obviously, like if you maximize the distance and you take like really big first 2 steps, the obvious advantage is that you get a running start. So you get more body momentum, and usually that will result in higher ball speed. If like your form is relaxed enough and you don't slow yourself down in like anywhere in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th steps, because there are a lot of caveats, right? Because some people, they can get a running start, but like later on in their bowling approach, like in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th step, they actually have certain movements that actually slow down their swing or slow down their tempo, which actually kills their ball speed. So the caveat is that yes, having a big running start, like first 2 steps being big and having a running start, yes, generally will increase your body momentum, provided your 3rd, 4th, and 5th steps of the approach are fine and you don't kill that extra momentum. But the disadvantage is that you are actually further away from the lane. So typically in like as a coach, when I teach like young bowlers and so on, we would actually, for especially younger bowlers, if they are like shorter, I will actually teach them to stand in front of the dots. So to have this kind of distance from the lane. Reason being is that we actually do not want the bowlers to take too big, like the first 2 steps to be too large, because the general rule is that the closer you are to the foul line and the closer you are to the arrows, the easier it is to aim. So let me try and give a different example here. Okay, maybe this particular view. So she stands like really far away, right? So her target is obviously, let me mark her target zone. So there's a target at the break point, which is here, and there's a target at the arrows, which is like probably here for her, right? So being so far, so if she stands this so far away, she's actually looking at the break point from here. So when she actually reaches the foul line, she will actually be looking at the target from here. So you can see that there's a change in her target line, because when she delivers the ball from the foul line, it has to cross through here. So there's this deviation, there's this change in the target line from this angle to this angle as she runs up to the foul line. That's because the distance is really far. So if we were to do the opposite, let me use like a blue color instead to illustrate. So instead, let's say she stands maybe like in the first row of dots, right? Which is what most of us would teach. She would be standing around here. The target is, because that's in the first row of dots. I can see the faint row of dots roughly around here. And then her final line would be same around here as she approaches the foul line. So you can see that using in blue, this change in the so-called the target line or the angle of the line in blue is a lot smaller. So it's a lot easier to be consistent with your targeting if you're standing closer to the foul line as compared when you stand further away from the foul line. So targeting is easier. That's one. Another second thing is that if you take a big running start, right? If you take 2 big steps instead of 2 small steps for your first 2 steps, generally your consistency and accuracy will be lower as well. Because obviously when you take big steps, you're moving your body around, you're shaking your shoulders, you're shaking your upper body, shaking your head as well. So there's that disruption of the movement will disrupt your aim. As compared to, if you're just walking 2 small steps, 2 gentle small steps, there's very minimal movement in your head and your upper body. And because there's less movement in the head, upper body, it's actually easier to keep your eyes on the target, and which will lead to more consistent and more accurate shots in the long run. So this is why, like when we actually teach, we actually try and teach bowlers to be as close to the foul line as possible. Looking at comparing the length of their legs, right? If it's a youth bowler that's really short, then I usually would teach them to be in front of the first row of dots. But if it's like a really tall bowler, let's say you're like 1.9 or like 2 meters tall, then you have really long legs, and then you have to actually stand further back because your natural step would be a lot larger, right? Because you have longer legs. One step of your feet covers a longer distance, so you actually have to stand further back away from the foul line. So those are pros and cons. So in this case, overall, like Bella Love Castillo game is really interesting. She found a way to generate high ball speed, but her game would actually like with by standing further. So her method of generating high ball speed is by standing further on the approach and doing a running start. But if other bowlers were to try and emulate that, you can try, but probably the side effect, like when you do try this, you will notice that your accuracy and your consistency actually goes down. Because when you're standing further, yes, you get the extra ball speed by running, but because of that running and because you're standing further, you might find it harder to keep your eyes on the target. You might find it harder to consistently hit the target. So there's a trade-off there. So by standing further, you get higher ball speed, but you get lower accuracy and lower consistency. So end of the day, I mean, as a bowling coach, I recognize that there is no perfect bowling form. Like there's always a trade-off. Like if I was stand further back in the approach, I get higher ball speed, which is great, right, for a two-hander. But my trade-off is that I get lower accuracy and lower consistency, which I will probably have to spend like more time to train up, because you can see like Bella herself trains really frequently. Like her parents send her to training like quite frequently. She like makes tons of videos just in like a short amount of time, and all of those videos like of her during practice, right? So she practiced a lot to try and to be the best that she can be, to even reach her current level of consistency and accuracy to be competitive at all. She has to train a ton. And well, not many of us would have this luxury of like going to bowling every single day, like of training, because there's the cost of bowling, especially in the expensive country like Singapore, and there's also time commitment as well. So yeah, so that's that. Okay. So overall, that's my review on her bowling style. In summary, she's a excellent bowler, and I wish her all the best. Like I hope she can go on the path to win more championships, maybe even go professional one day if that's what she wishes for. And I just hope that she does well in bowling and continues to enjoy it. Then anyway, just a side plug for myself. I'm a bowling coach in Singapore. So if anyone is looking for lessons and so on, you can feel free to contact me. My contact information will be listed in the video description below. So thank you very much for watching. We will see you guys next time.